Little Prince, Chapter 26. Beside the well there was a ruin, an old stone wall. When I came back from my work the next evening, I caught sight of the little prince at a distance. He was sitting on top of the wall, legs dangling, and I heard him talking. "Don't you remember?" he was saying. "This isn't exactly the place." Another voice must have answered him, for then he replied, "Oh yes, it's the right day, but it isn't the right place." I continued walking towards the wall. I could neither see nor hear anyone, yet the little prince answered again. "Of course, you'll see where my tracks begin in the sand. Just wait for me there. I'll be there tonight." I was 20 yards away from the wall and still saw no one. Then the little prince said after a silence, "Your poison is good? You're sure it won't make me suffer long?" I stepped short, my heart pounding, but I still didn't understand. "Now go away," the little prince said. "I want to get down from here." Then I looked down toward the foot of the wall and gave a great start. There, coiled in front of the little prince, was one of those yellow snakes that can kill you in 30 seconds. As I dug into my pocket for a revolver, I stepped back. With the noise I made, the snake flowed over the sand like a trickling fountain, and without even hurrying, slipped away between the stones with a faint metallic sound. I reached the wall just in time to catch my little prince in my arms, his face white as snow. "What's going on here? You're talking to snakes now?" I had loosened the yellow scarf he always wore. I had moistened his temples and made him drink some water. And now I didn't dare to ask him anything more. He gazed at me with a serious expression and put his arms around my neck. I felt my heart beating like a dying bird's when it's been shot. He said to me, "I'm glad you found what was the matter with your engine. Now you'll be able to fly again." "How did you know?" "I was just coming to tell you that I had been successful beyond all hope." He didn't answer my question. All he said was, "I'm leaving today, too." And then, sadly, "It's much further. It's much more difficult." I realized that something extraordinary was happening. I was holding him in my arms like a little child, yet it seemed to me that he was dropping headlong into the abyss, and I could do nothing to hold him back. His expression was very serious now, lost and remote. "I have your sheep, and I have a crate for it, and I have a muzzle," and he smiled sadly. I waited a long time. I could feel that he was reviving a little. "Little fellow, you were frightened." Of course he was frightened. Once again, I felt chilled by a sense of something irreparable, and I realized I couldn't bear the thought of never hearing that laugh again. For me, it was like a spring of fresh water in the desert. "Little fellow, I want to hear you laugh again." But he said to me, "Tonight, it'll be the year. My star will be just above the place where I fell last year." "Little fellow, it's a bad dream, isn't it? All this conversation with the snake and the meeting place with the star?" But he didn't answer my question. All he said was, "The important thing is what can't be seen." Of course. It's the same as for the flower. If you love a flower that lives in a star, then it's good at night to look up at the sky. All the stars are blossoming. Of course. It's the same for the water. The water you gave me to drink was like music on account of the pulley and the rope. You remember? It was good. Of course. At night, you'll look up at the stars. It's too small where I live for me to show you where my star is. It's better that way. My star will be one of the stars for you. So you'll like looking at all of them. They'll be all your friends. And besides, I have a present for you." He laughed again. Little fellow, I love hearing that laugh. "That'll be my present, just that. It'll be the same as for the water." "What do you mean?" "People have stars, but they aren't the same. For travelers, the stars are guides. For other people, they're nothing but tiny lights. And for still others, for scholars, They're problems. For my businessman, they were gold, but all those stars are silent stars. You, though, have stars like nobody else." "What do you mean?" "When you look up at the sky at night, since I'll be living on one of them, since I'll be laughing on one of them, for you it'll be as if the stars are all laughing. You'll have all the stars that can laugh." And he laughed again. "And when you're consoled, everyone is eventually consoled, you'll be glad to have known me. You'll always be my friend. You'll feel like you're laughing with me. And you'll open your window sometimes just for the fun of it. And your friends will be amazed to see you laughing while looking up at the sky. Then you'll tell them, 'Yes, it's the stars. They always make me laugh.' And they'll think you're crazy. It'll be like a nasty trick I played on you." And he laughed again. "And it'll be as if, instead of stars, I gave you tiny bells that knew how to laugh." And he laughed again. Then he grew serious once more. "Tonight, don't come. I won't leave you. It'll look as if I'm suffering. It'll look as if I'm dying. It'll look that way. Don't come to see that. It's not worth the trouble." "I won't leave you." But he was anxious. "I'm telling you this on account of the snake. He mustn't bite you. Snakes are nasty sometimes. They bite just for fun." "I won't leave you." But something reassured him. "It's true they don't have enough poison for a second bite." That night I didn't see him leave. He got away without making a sound. When I managed to catch up with him, he was walking fast, with determination. All he said was, "Ah, you're here." And he took my hand, but he was still anxious. "You're wrong to come. You'll suffer." "I'll look as if I'm dead, but that won't be true." I said nothing. "You understand, it's too far. I can't take this body with me, it's too heavy." I said nothing. "But it'll be like an old abandoned shell. There's nothing sad about an old abandoned shell." I said nothing. He was a little disheartened now, but he made one more effort. "It'll be nice, I'll be looking at the stars, too. All the stars will be wells on a rusty pulley. All the stars will pour out water for me to drink." I said nothing. "And it'll be fun. You'll have 500 million little bells. I'll have 500 million springs of fresh water." And he, too, said nothing, because he was weeping. "Here's the place. Let me go on alone." And he sat down because he was frightened. Then he said, My flower, I'm responsible for her. She's so weak. She's so naive. She has 4 ridiculous thorns to defend her against the world." I sat down, too, because I was unable to stand any longer. He said, "There, that's all." He hesitated a little longer. He stood up. He took a step. I couldn't move. There was nothing but a yellow flash close to his ankle. He remained motionless for an instant. He didn't cry out. He fell gently, the way trees fall. There wasn't even a sound because of the sand. Chapter 27. And now, of course, it's been 6 years already. I've never told you this story before. The friends who saw me again were very glad to see me alive. I was sad, but I told them, it's fatigue. Now I'm somewhat consoled, that is, not entirely. But I did know that he got back to his planet because at daybreak I didn't find his body. It was such a heavy body. And at night, I love listening to the stars. It's like 500 million little bells. But something extraordinary has happened. When I drew that muzzle for the little prince, I forgot to put in a leather strap. He could have never fastened it onto his sheep. And then I wonder, what's happened there on his planet? Maybe the sheep has eaten the flower. Sometimes I tell myself, of course not. The little prince puts his flower under a glass and he keeps close watch over him and his sheep. Sometimes I tell myself, Anyone might be distracted once in a while, and that's all it takes. One night, he forgot to put her under a glass, or else the sheep got out without making any noise. During the night, then all the bells are all changed into tears. It's all a great mystery. For you, who love the Little Prince too. As for me, nothing in the universe can be the same if somewhere, no one knows where, a sheep we never saw has or has not eaten a rose. Look up at the sky. Ask yourself, has the sheep eaten the flower or not? And you'll see how everything changes. And no grown-up will ever understand how such a thing could be so important.